This is a KAI, and this is a KAI. This is also a KAI, and this is also a KAI. But we're going to talk about this KAI. So let's go. Here's a video for the TRI X HBB KAI. This is the latest collaboration. It is a single dynamic, because I love them. $70 to $79 depending on the sale price. It's got a DLC driver. Let me go ahead and put this there. I think this is a nice, cute, simple little box. The discussion was saving money and keeping the price down. That was a really big, long discussion, actually. The build quality didn't suffer, though. Let me go ahead and stretch this out. It's got a double cap design. It's absolutely stunning. It's kind of Ukrainian flag-ish colors with ecstasy. I don't know how to explain it. It's stunning. I posted up on Twitter and a lot of people were just like, wow, that looks amazing. It does in fact look amazing. It is wow. It's got filters. It's got the screen type. I don't think that you're going to have any issues with this one. I've had none with mine. Let's talk about the tuning of this set. Try not to make anybody sick. You're looking at the Olina, the Melee, and the KAI. And the KAI is in yellow. And you can see that the KAI falls in between the two when it comes to extension. It gets all the way out to about 13K before it really falls out for me and for stuff that I've done as far as exactly on a spectrogram where a cymbal strike and a lot of things happen, and when nothing happens it fits fine. The bass is the first part I want to talk about, because the actual goal for this another DD was to take the feedback from you guys. Some people said they liked the Melee, but it was a little bit too much bass, particularly in the mid bass for certain genres. It just made it a little too, either too smooth or muddy depending on who was describing it, and I can get it because the mid bass is actually quite important. The Olina, before it's modified some way like the short bus mod, shout out to Michael Bruce, could be maybe a little bit light for people. So there were two very different bass to mid bass profiles on these two sets. Let me actually take out, so you can get a look at it right there. That's the Melee. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to do actually. There we go. So the Olina and the Melee were not really similar when it came to all the way to 200 hertz, the way that it replayed. And that made a difference. And some people liked it and some people didn't. So the goal partly was to go ahead and split the difference between those two. And that is what was done with this. Sub bass is elevated and the mid bass drops all the way into the mids at a lower point than the other two sets, to put more emphasis on the low end and also on the high end, creating a kind of a slight V. Now, I don't want to sit here and grasp, but this is kind of how this thing got tuned. I'm going to take this set out, and then I'm going to take the Melee out, and I'm going to put a set called the Dark Audio, or the MIM Audio Dark Magician, which is this set right here, which was sent by Ethan Music, I believe. Thank you very much. At that time that this came out, this was quite expensive, and there was also talk of change, and that change turned out to be not ideal. If Ethan watches this, and somebody might kick him onto it, if you have any stock of this original version, or you plan on re-releasing it again, I have a video for you, because I owe it to you, because you gave me this set for free, and you didn't bother me or send me lots of mail, so I owe you this. It's an amazing set. It inspired me because the way that this replayed treble and how my personal microphone measured your set, I went for something using my microphone and tried to get it too close to that, and that's actually what I did. Both of these sets, the KAI and the MIM, foam tips deeply inserted into my bike as it's calibrated, and I got the goal, which was to have a treble like what you tuned, because the way that that handles vocals is very, very nice. If you talk to anybody that's got the MIM, that maybe is the sweet point of that set. It just has a great, because the harmonics are somewhat polite. They're not cut away, they don't fall away, but they're not really shouty at any point. It's very, very nice for a person like me that has a vocal-centric library. Let's talk about the replay on this set. The bass is very good for kill-jill. The triple drop is very nice. The lowest hit at 34 Hertz is very strong. It's exactly like it's supposed to be. It's got a droning, lingering impact that goes on with that. As we move into something like Black Sabbath, where you've got two low-frequency instruments that are going quite quickly, it does, I think, very good. I think that planars cannot be replaced when it comes to something like that, which is kind of separation at high speed with low-frequency instruments. There's planars and there's everything else, and that really doesn't matter if we're talking about an IE600 and all of their chambering and all of that. It's the text of the transducers that are being used. So the KAI is great, but like all of my other collabs, it's not on par with planar on this song. That's the way it is. I'd like to say otherwise, but that wouldn't be true. As we move on to Dire Straits and we get to the mid-bass, this is where this kind of shows itself to me. The mid-bass pulls and releases are good. They're nice and strong. The bassist never sounds like he's too forward, like he could maybe sound a little meaty on Melee, but he doesn't sound slightly back like he does on Olena. And then again, this is, mid-bass is becoming talked about more and more because of sets like the Variation, the Monarch, and other stuff. Crinical's recent release, the Zero, is a brilliant set that I will get more into when I do a review for it. The tonality and the timbre is just fantastic. The cut for the mid-bass is audible, though. It's in particular things that I mentioned. People pick it up and other reviewers start to pick it up. This has a mid-bass that is more the glide type, but the elevation of that glide is the difference between muddy, meaty, and lean or dry, and it really is right there. You can boost up sub-bass and not touch mid-bass, and you might not even notice it except for certain songs on your library. You play with the mid-bass, you're going to get clear results probably across the board with your library. That was in mind when this was tuned. This, by the way, project began after Melee, before Olena, so this took a long time. I want to say that that's because they took such care. And when I look at the build of it and the two-piece caps, and I think that that's what it is, but this took forever. And they launched when they were ready. So Dire Straits sounds excellent. Between the Olena and the Melee and this, judging on that, this would be the best for that. It does do authentic bass guitar and drums, and it doesn't interfere with the perception of the vocals. That's partly mid-bass, and that's partly the driver, probably. And I have taken that apart, and others will take it apart. I think when we get to the treble, this is where this does very well. I'm actually got the... Fleetwood Mac is an album that I use all the time because... which is right there. Right there. It's got 4 vocalists pretty much, and the whole album, every single song is pretty much vocal-centric. They don't have any weird interludes or anything like that, or somebody busts out in a solo. You've got Stevie Nicks in the front, and then you've got 3 in the back, or you've got Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham in the front, and then you've got 2 in the back, or all 4 will join a chorus. So there's a lot of vocals going on, and mid-bass and the ear gain region very much impact the quality of vocals. I think that this is very much a vocal-centric set with some meat because of the bass profile with the glide, which is really what I wanted to get and what I think I achieved with this. So if you listen to a library like mine that has a lot of rock and roll, a lot of bass guitar, a lot of drums, pianos, keyboards, synthesizers, vocals, of course, cymbal strikes. One of the symbols that I used when tuning this was part of a community post that I did talking about where the fundamental region of a strike is, which is way down in the mids, and then where it decays. And this does very good on that. And some people have said, you know, that cut that you do, I think that kills things. For me personally, my hearing, I think that electric guitars, particularly with distortion pedals, like mentioned on the intro of all my videos, that little disclaimer that I put, I can listen and it sounds more authentic, and I can also listen for a longer time, which is authentic to how I listen to music. I don't listen for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I usually have jam sessions in my ears for a couple hours. I can't have electric guitars, cymbal strikes, biting and grating on me repeatedly. It becomes something that makes me wince, and I'm not really into that. I want something that sounds authentic, which means that it has a low end, like I was at a club or at an event or listening to a good home system. And I want the energy proper for electric guitars, vocals, and cymbals, but I don't want those in a position where it makes me feel tired. And the line of that was something that Ethan Music and the MIM did very well. Therefore, I thought, go for something like that. $70, fantastic build quality. I didn't know that at the time. It's beautiful. And offer that, because it's not like the Melee. It's kind of similar to it, except it's got it's not the same thing actually, but it's related, I suppose. It's got a tighter mid bass, and it's got a more polite type of treble. And the Olina is really an O2 reshelled with very slightly different, very energetic. A lot of people do mods. The technicalities of that's fantastic. That's $100. That's probably one of the best deals that you can get at $100, in my opinion. I think in this price range, this is probably one of the best you can get. I'm biased. I'm biased, obviously. So this is the Kai. If you like the collabs that I've done before, if you like the Olina, but you thought, man, the Melee with a little bit of polish would have been something I really wanted, well, that's actually what this is. So this is you getting what you want. And it's for sale now, and it's in a link below this video. So thank you for the trust if you decide to buy this. If you don't, okay. And I want to say to TRI, you guys did an amazing job. This is one of the more beautiful IMs that I've seen, and it's $70. It's not some cheap metal with flakes off of it or anything like that. If I hold this in my hands with something else that's in the price range, it's clear that this looks like it's a more expensive set. So very impressed. As the person that put their name on it and tuned it, and you got to do the construction, the build, and consider the aesthetics of it. You nailed it. This is just absolutely beautiful. I can't pronounce your name, the person that I spoke to a lot in private chats, but you should be proud of yourself. This is beautiful. It's tuned the way that I wanted it to. There's no variation at the final step, sudden like, oops, sorry, we couldn't do what we said we're going to do. Everything has gone great. Makes me feel confident and to recommend this item, not only because it's my collaboration, but because the way that you present it is, you said keep the price down requires keeping the packaging down. I got a lot of viewers that don't like big packages and are really into the save the planet and don't throw plastic everywhere. There's none in here. It's all cardboard. It's quite small. You've got a little case to carry it, and that's it. That's what I wanted, and it kept the price down. So thank you guys very much. Much appreciation. And that's the Kai. And it will be in other videos, but that's the Kai. And it's for sale right now below. And I'm out.